This philosophy is actually so explicitly clear that renunciation is not through giving anything up. It's through taking up the higher, and the lower falls away. And we back with another reflection on the daily Vedantic. Almost just hit my chin on the microphone. Well, if you heard it, then you heard the truth. I did kind of hit my chin on the microphone, but on the soft part. Thankfully. Thank you, microphone, for cushioning that blow. And apologies to your eardrums if they heard that. Let's get into this episode. And this episode is all about renunciation. One of the principles within Vedanta is to pile drive these concepts. Setting a pillar into the ground requires you to lift it up, drop it, lift it up, drop it, lift it up, drop it, lift it up, drop it. And that's an ancient concept that even made its way thousands of years ago into the philosophy. This concept of needing to pile drive is the more contemporary term for it. But needing to hit these points over and over and over again for the pillar to set is, well, it's something that it's throughout each text. It is, and the ashram Swami will talk about this all the time in his lectures, needing to pile drive these concepts. And renunciation is one of those concepts that we've covered before. It is right at the core of this entire philosophy, and yet it's so wildly misunderstood that it is necessary to pile drive what is meant by renunciation and what is not meant by renunciation. Swami will often say that it is a complete misconception to think that you can give anything up. The idea of renunciation being giving something up, renouncing the sense pleasures, renouncing selfish desires, renouncing the fruit of our action or the obsession over what am I going to get out of this? What am I going to get out of this? That's, in many of our heads, we think, okay, that's where we want to be. That's pure generosity. That's pure love. That's selflessness. And we think you get there by jumping straight there and giving up. Okay, I've got to give up my love of X, Y, or Z if it's not good for me. But this philosophy is actually so explicitly clear that renunciation is not through giving anything up. It's through taking up the higher, and the lower falls away. You don't give up the lower rungs of a ladder to climb to the top. You just hook on to one that's higher than the one below you. And when you've got stability with the one that you've hooked onto, that you've now attached to, you let the lower one go. And you do it over and over again, attaching to the higher, with the lower falling away. Not giving up anything. Within this philosophy, it actually says nothing about alcohol or intoxicants, drugs. It doesn't say anything about those. If they are dulling your ability to see the world clearly, dulling your ability to execute on your responsibilities, your duties, then yeah, that's going to lead to a lot of inner agitation within you. But there are no shoulds and shouldn'ts within this philosophy. There's no list of things that you can and can't do. Right action is that which generates energy within you. So if something generates energy within you in a sustainable way, where there's no hangover that's twice as costly as the benefit that you had the night before, if it's generating energy within you towards the long term, then do it. Keep doing it. If it's dissipating energy within you, the 5 drinks that make for an awesome Friday night and a terrible 24 hours afterwards, if that's dissipating energy within you, then yeah, question it. Get some elbow room from that decision and say, is that what I should be doing? Is that wrong action? Because it is not only destroying my energy the next day, but then I've got insane anxiety for a day and a half afterwards. Probably something to question. But let's say you really love your 3 drinks a night and you need it to fall asleep. You recognize, okay, this isn't healthy for me. You see it on a sleep tracker that I think it's 2 drinks will decrease your sleep quality by up to 34%. So 3 drinks or the 2 drinks, whatever you recognize, you have a voice in your head, I should probably renounce this. This is not healthy for me. Whatever that is for you. Let's go with this example of 3 drinks a night. You recognize, okay, this is actually dissipating my energy. My sleep tracker is telling me quite explicitly, I'm not getting very good sleep and I'm exhausted the next day and I need an insane amount of caffeine to get through the day. Okay, maybe this is related to the 3 drinks a night. This philosophy might increase the sensitivity to something like that. But it will not tell you don't do that. It also won't say, hey, give that up. You should give that up. What this philosophy will say is, take up something higher. Maybe it is something as explicit in this example as, I want to have good energy throughout the day so that I can do my job better, so I can be a better parent or a better significant other. I don't want to have to drink so much caffeine that gives me anxiety. Now I've got 2 different forces of anxiousness or dehydration working against me. So you take up the higher and you say, all right, I really want to, and I shouldn't say they don't cause anxiety, but they are conducive. Because although a neuroscientist on a podcast like Andrew Huberman will say that it leads to anxiety, this philosophy is very clear that the gross cannot control the subtle. What you drink, if you are an enlightened sage, you could drink anything and it wouldn't cause anxiety within you. Wouldn't lead to, as the latest research seems to suggest. That's a slight technicality aside. So I should say conducive to or can contribute to anxiety or increased anxiety. But let's say you're like, all right, I want to get rid of that. I also want to get rid of the need for caffeine. I want to be a better employee, a better team member, better parent. Okay, I got to get rid of this habit of drinking 3 drinks a night. So what does renunciation actually look like? Well, it looks like you attaching to the higher, to something nobler than those 3 drinks. The indulgence, the feeling that you might get for a few hours from those 3 drinks, how they might help you fall asleep, but then ruin your sleep quality after they help you fall asleep. You attach to something higher of, all right, I want the satisfaction of being a better, more present employee, team member, or parent. And you facilitate that thought flow. All right, this might be painful for 7-8 days. Maybe I'll go down to 2 drinks, then I go down to 1, then I go down to half a 1. Then, and this is, by the way, this is a side note. I just happen to know this pro tip. A sleep doctor told me. Micrograms of melatonin, 300 micrograms of melatonin, not milligrams. Milligrams replaces your body's natural production of melatonin. Milligrams of melatonin are terrible for any of us. I would not recommend those. But micrograms, whether you're traveling across the world and you got a different time zone and you need to shift the time that you're going to bed, or you have trouble falling asleep and you want something to help you fall asleep that isn't maybe alcohol. Micrograms of melatonin, 300 micrograms, 3 hours before the time you want to go to bed. Take it at 7, you will be exhausted by 10 because it kickstarts just enough to kickstart your body's natural production of melatonin. It's from my work with Magic Mind and the work that we do with productivity consultants and sleep doctors. Anyhow, slight little factoid for you that you can replace 2 or 3 drinks with. But even that only comes when you start to think through, okay, I'm going to aim towards the higher. What are some healthier alternatives than what I'm currently doing? And the thought flow is aiming towards the higher. Getting better sleep, being more present. The next day, getting better sleep, being more present. The next day, getting better sleep, being more present, fulfilling my duties, feeling that satisfaction of being like, wow, I felt great all day. I was able to deliver in my work tasks, in my personal relationships, tapping into that satisfaction, feeling that, creating a thought flow around that. Before you know it, those 3 drinks have fallen away. Someone offers you drink right before bed and you already know what it's going to do to your sleep. Or you have one with friends, but you think, do I really need a second or a third? That aversion you create. Many of my friends now won't drink within 2 or 3 hours of going to bed. The idea of like a nightcap right before going to bed, they're averse to it because they know it destroys their sleep. They've hooked on to the higher, wanting good sleep. That aversion, that is renunciation. They're renouncing it, but in no way are they thinking, are they giving something up? They're taking something up, taking up the higher. It's not about giving anything up. It's about what are you taking up to allow for the lower to fall away. You can always dial it up. Take up something higher. Take up something even higher. Identify not with your good sleep, but identify with that role and job you have the next day. Identify with the role that you have within your family, the example you're setting with the people around you. The unselfish desire to be of optimal use, optimal usefulness to your community. You can always go higher and higher and higher until you get to the absolute. And it all just falls away. That is renunciation, and that is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.